All right.
Are we actually live?
We are live.
I don't believe it. Mm-hmm. I'm looking on YouTube to check, make sure we're live. I'm a skeptical person. Update. All right, come over here. See.
Yep, it says live right there.
Yeah, we're live. I believe it now. All right. Well, welcome everybody. If you are listening to us live on either the app formerly known as Twitter or on YouTube, welcome. If you're listening to us later, we are still grateful that you are able to catch us here. Today, as always, we sit next to a pile of unwashed dishes.
You can't call me out like that. I'm kidding.
I'm very enlightened. I feel equally responsible to you, as you, for the dishes. And we hope our children stay in bed. So, although I am not as tired as 2 weeks ago, last time we did this.
We're more refreshed this time.
Less exhausted is actually how I would.
I'm more of a half glass full person than you are. That makes the tracks.
I'm also sleepier than you, I'm pretty sure.
That would also track.
Yeah.
Today we're going to be talking about finding the Judases in our life.
Judas.
This is going to be an interesting topic, I think.
Yeah. What's a Judas?
It's somebody who betrays. We use that culturally to be like, the person who betrayed everybody. The Judas.
It's a Judas.
Yeah. He will forever go down in history as the ultimate.
30 pieces of silver. And a kiss. Yes. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So I want to go a little bit over the original Judas. The original Judas, as if that's a good thing. The OG Judas. Gosh. Guys, don't be a Judas.
No.
Being a Judas is bad. Don't betray people.
In case you missed it in Sunday school, we're here to tell you.
Don't kiss people so they get killed later. If you set it up so that,
Sounds like vampirism or something.
All right, listen. I can't deal with this white girl nonsense. All right. Serious times. If you are watching us live, please give us a like, give us a comment. We really appreciate it. Feed the algorithm. Apparently, it's hungry. And we don't want anyone to be hungry, not in a time like this. Okay. Judas was a disciple of Jesus. He actually, which means he was a preacher, because Jesus sent the disciples out to preach.
It's kind of surprising to think of him that way.
As a preacher.
Yeah.
Preachers can't do anything wrong, babe. Except for one of the very first batch of preachers, of the apostles.
Yeah. I wonder if...
Thank you for the like. Appreciate that.
Okay, this is probably completely off. I'm just like, 1 out of every 12, this just kind of gives you like a good rule of thumb of we should expect some of the batch to go bad.
It's kind of like a skinny tithe to the devil. I don't know. No. I'm not saying that theologically, just rule of thumb.
I'm just thinking anecdotally, I think we are caught off guard.
We're caught off guard
when a preacher goes bad, right?
We are.
And we really shouldn't be if 1 of the 12 was a betrayer.
Absolutely. He was also a treasurer. He was a treasurer for the money that was used to give to the poor, to help the poor out. So that might become important later. Mm-hmm. And that's, I guess that's about the end of the resume. He was one of the 12 that Jesus chose. Actually, it's really interesting. It's John 6. In John 6, Jesus, a good number of his followers walked away from him, and the 12 stay with him. And Jesus, somewhere in that story, says, "Didn't I choose you, the 12?" Like they're going to stick with him. Yet one of you is a devil. And I looked up the Greek word briefly before this podcast. Well, diablo, it just means devil. So that is interesting. And then later we actually see that Satan will enter into Judas for Judas to do his betraying.
That's such a scary thought.
Yeah. It's probably good for us to remember, too. We don't just fight against flesh and blood. There's more going on. It's tough for us to remember that in our materialistic age. But maybe there really is a demon behind every bush. I don't know. Not everything is demonic, but
More than I think what we
not
assume.
nothing is
Yeah.
demonic, if I may use a double negative. So anyway, as we were doing our prep, one of the questions I asked was, what signs were there that Judas was going to go bad? And I could only think of one thing. I looked around. I just did like the search of Judas just to remind me of anything that might be in there. The only thing I can think of is in John 12, when Mary pours pure nard, that perfume, that real expensive perfume on Jesus' feet. And Judas gets a little whiny because he wanted that to be sold so they could have given that money to the poor. But actually, according to John, in John 12, he was stealing money, right?
he wanted it to go through his fingers.
He did. He wanted the Judas tax because it said that he would steal part of the money there in John 12. So again, we have like a money side to this. Who knows how that started? It's really left up to our imaginations as to what that might have looked like. But yeah, that's a real thing.
Now, I might be getting ahead of us a little bit, but you mentioned earlier that it was only kind of a small amount of money that he betrayed Jesus for.
It was.
And there's some disagreement about how much that was. What did you find?
Well, because we don't know how much a piece of silver is. It probably is not. So some of the bigger sums that are out there, say you go off of what a silver denarii was, which was 2 days' labor for a skilled labor. But a piece of silver probably wasn't that big, but it could have been, I suppose. But most estimates I'm seeing are putting it at like $300 to $400. I saw one estimate as low as $90. So we're talking about a nice pair of Jordans, maybe, or a day at the like a stay at, a spa. I don't know, like a massage or something. Like we're not talking about something that's very life changing. And there is a reference to 30 pieces of silver in the prophets. I think it's Ezekiel. I could be wrong, where he is paid to leave for 30 pieces of silver, and God says, throw the money away because this is what they see this is what they think of you. So it's kind of like this idea of like, this is what Judas thought of his relationship with Jesus. But he was with him for years, at least 3 years, and he went through suffering with him, and he did all these things. So this is very, and even after all that, time together and sacrifice wasn't enough for him to actually value Jesus. So don't be a Judas.
Yeah.
So it's just now there's some thematic things scripturally that Judas accomplishes. We have yet another betrayal of God in the garden. He comes into a garden, kisses Jesus as a way. He tells the guards, the Roman.
So very Eden-esque.
Very Eden-esque, yeah. So just as mankind is betraying God in gardens since the beginning, since year one, he betrays him with a kiss, which is a sign of affection, and then for the 30 pieces of silver. And then another theme that could kind of tie into is they were, being a Jew, Judas was related to Jesus. They were part of the same nation. If you go back to the story of Joseph, he was sold by his brothers for 20 pieces of silver. So I guess he learned how to strike a better bargain than those guys.
Barely.
Barely. And so, yes, this is... Now, Joseph, of course, goes on to provide salvation for the whole nation. right? So there's a type of
He's very much a type of Christ.
very much a type of Christ.
Yeah.
And so the suffering side of what Jesus would accomplish is more typified by Joseph than it is David, it seems. Though David suffers too, it just seems like they kind of encapsulate different parts of Jesus' ministry. And then in John 17, Jesus is praying, and he goes, I didn't lose any of them, except for the son of perdition, or the son of destruction, or the one who was born to be destroyed.
Which we know he didn't lose him like, oh no.
Yeah.
That wasn't plan A.
Yeah. But then I think what's really fascinating is the idea of the Last Supper, when Jesus says, one of you is going to betray me. And no one was like, I bet it's the treasurer, the guy with the money, or I bet it's, Judas.
It's Judas.
Yeah, I could see that. None of them could see it.
They were like, is it me? Lord, is it me?
Which introspection's good.
Yeah. But it's fascinating to me that they didn't.
But even Judas asked, is it me?
Yeah, but he already knew it was him.
Yeah, isn't that interesting?
He had already.
So he's playing along and chameleon, camouflaging himself with everybody else.
I do think this is super important, though, because we tend to think, especially once we've gone through a situation of spiritual abuse, of church abuse, where you've seen a pastor go bad.
Yeah.
Then you think, oh, I'll be able to recognize it in the future. And this plays into our story a little bit.
Yeah.
Which we've mentioned before on the podcast, but we had, gone through 1 or 2 rodeos or 3, I think in your case. And
12 rodeos.
12 rodeos. That wasn't our first time around the block. And we kind of felt like, oh yeah, I think we would be able to recognize, I feel like we can recognize that our pastors are not that. And then to find out one of them was.
Yeah.
And that was really disorienting for us, and I have found a lot of comfort in this story, because now I can see even the disciples were looking around going, well, who is it?
Right. Well, and what's interesting here is it wasn't like other disciples hadn't left. Like when Jesus talks about eating his body and drinking his blood, most of his disciples leave.
Yeah.
Right? So they had seen disciples be unfaithful before. And he was one of the ones that was faithful. Right? He stuck around. He was going to be there thick and thin, it seemed like. And yet, so there are lessons we can learn here that I think is just really, really important. But let's do our story first. Let's do a little bit of our story first. The thing with our previous pastor, the one, and we've had previous episodes on him. We use his name in those episodes. Don't feel like using his name again. But if you're watching, you can always feel free to reach. My number's the same. You can reach out and call me, and apologize. But there was a sinful use of money in him as well. Right? It was smaller stuff at first. Excessive use of DoorDash from church funds, things like this. And it didn't show because, he was kind of hidden, apparently, how it was with Judas. They didn't know at the time, but it came out, it came out later. Right? Then, and the people who should have known, including us, didn't know. Right?
Yeah.
They didn't know. And it can be disconcerting, but I think things like this in Scripture are helpful because it should help us anticipate that there are people like Judas. And Judas, he caused a lot of damage, right? Caused a lot of damage. A ton of damage. In fact, you can tell the writers of the Gospels, every time they mention his name, who betrayed Jesus, whenever they use his name. Judas Iscariot, who betrayed Jesus. It stuck with them. Even Paul, who wasn't there, when describing communion, which was, the Lord's Supper, first given there at the Last Supper, on the night he was betrayed, and then goes into about the bread and the wine. And I think this is just like so key. Like this stung, it cut deep, and I don't think they ever, like they never forgot. Like this was not something that could be forgotten.
You don't just move on quickly from that.
No, decades later,
Yeah.
this is still the betrayal just runs so deep into the story. So, and I think for us, we need to realize that there will be betrayers in our lives as well. And perhaps sometimes we've been the betrayer. And so we should repent of those types of things. Hopefully we can. But you know what Judas didn't do?
What?
Derail the ministry of Jesus. Thought he did, got him killed. But with resurrection, it's like an ultimate trump card.
Yeah.
Cannot stop someone with resurrection power. And so I think this is where we can trust Jesus, even in our lives. He can that same resurrection life is at work in us, and can work in us to be able to heal us.
Yeah. Well, and you see that with people who have experienced extreme abuse, and then like they have a resilience and a joy that's just not explained any other way.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
When they're a believer.
Yeah.
And it's so cool to see. It's very clear that it is Jesus in them and
That's
the Holy
right.
Spirit at work.
Yeah. I think the next thing is you cannot catch every betrayer before they betray you. You can't catch them all. This is not Pokemon. It's unfortunate. Pokemon sounds like a lot more fun. But here's the thing. Jesus can catch them all. He knew who Judas was.
Yeah.
Yet one of you is a devil. He called out, whatever you do quickly. And so I think it's the King James Version. Whatever thou dost do quickly, or something like this. Jesus knew. And what's really crazy there is the next thing. And Satan entered Judas. Now, again, as someone born in the 20th century, a very modernistic kind of person, I breathe the air of the Enlightenment like all of you do. The idea of Satan entering someone seems a little strange and bizarre, but I think it's true. I think there's something about. What was it Dan Allender says, actually, that Satan was the first abuser.
Yeah.
Right? So, and most abusers were abused at some point. Satan didn't care about Judas. It's, just the maliciousness of the...
It's such a reminder to me of how empty the promises of sin are, too.
Yeah.
Like the fact that he would betray Jesus over such a small amount of money, and then... like, he immediately goes and hangs himself. Like, it's so destructive.
Well, he tried to return the money to alleviate his guilt.
Sure, yes. But, I'm just like, sin never delivers on what it promises.
No.
It's always hollow. And it's so destructive to
Yeah.
those who partake in it.
Yeah.
It's just... he was betrayed himself, I guess.
You could say so. You could say so. So now, there is some controversy on his death because there's two different accounts. One is in Acts, and I think the other one's in one of the Gospels. I want to say Matthew. I could be wrong. The Gospel account says that he hung himself, and then the Acts account has him falling down a cliff and opening up, or falling and breaking, I guess, is for lack of a better term.
You can go read
Yeah.
You can go read it yourself.
It's there. The Bible doesn't flinch, it just says what happened. And so there's always been the people who are like, see, the Bible doesn't agree with itself. But it's pretty easy, like someone can hang themselves, fall while hanging themselves at any point in that process and have a catastrophic fall, for lack of a better term. And so actually the fact that the details don't line up super well, but still are able to work in harmony with each other, I think is actually evidence that Scripture is true. Because if it was a conspiracy, they would have done a better job. And this is exactly the kind of thing that real life accounts do. They focus on different details. And there's a lot of details that are also left out, of course. So at any rate, there is some controversy on that. I don't think it's much of one. It's a pretty made up one, manufactured.
There's a lot of good resources online if that,
Yeah.
piques your curiosity.
Yep. Wesley Huff, I think, does a great job with that. As one of them. But at any rate, but it leads to death. Betrayal leads to death. We actually see this is going to be the end of Satan as well as the great, great, great betrayer. And they bring death. So this is why I think Judas is called the son of perdition or the son of destruction or the son of waste. It could also be translated, I suppose.
Didn't you say that word was used of the oil that Mary poured out? He said it was such a waste.
So the other account, I think it's the other account because it's not John, where Judas isn't called out by name, but in people's hearts it says that they said this is a waste, and that's that same word, perdition or destruction.
So interesting.
So what they thought, what Judas. So if we put the two accounts together, and it is Judas that thought that the one who thought that the sacrifice to Jesus was a waste was himself going to waste his life. And so again, don't do that, guys. Don't be a betrayer. It's bad. It goes badly for you. It's not a good thing. So that's kind of the story of Judas. So how can we find the Judases in our own life?
We can't.
We can't. That's really the truth of the matter. And if we kill ourselves trying to find every Judas before we get hurt, if we just spin our wheels, it's not going to work out. We're going to just be anxious. We're going to be hypervigilant, maybe paranoid, but not happy and not effective, and not living life the way we ought to. So how can you find every Judas in your life? You can't, not until they act in a Judas way. In fact, even his act of betrayal, a kiss, looked like friendship.
Yeah.
And so, we're only going to know we've been betrayed when we've been betrayed. The promise is twofold. One, Jesus will not betray us. He will be faithful.
Yep.
And I think the other promise is Jesus did know who would betray him. And he knows who will betray us. And he takes care of it. He takes care of it. So I think this is sometimes hard to believe and reckon with, but I think there's a sense of justice does come. He does reward righteousness and he punishes wickedness. It's just Bible, it's just simple Bible stuff. So, obviously we're not the same as Jesus. Sometimes people betray us because we've hurt them or something like this. I'm sure Judas felt like he had good reasons, justifications for betrayal, too. But obviously betraying Jesus is the ultimate, don't do that. But it is going to happen to us. We're no better than Jesus. We're not going to, so why should we be treated better than Jesus? We won't. But it's anticipated. We're warned. We're we can see that it's there.
Yeah. This reminds me of a proverb.
Oh.
Proverbs 27:6. And it's basically, I'm trying to find a good translation. The wounds of a friend are trustworthy, but the kisses of an enemy are excessive.
Oh.
Or faithful are the wounds of a friend, but the kisses of an enemy are deceitful. I think there's a warning for us here too, in that we should look for the friends who will wound us faithfully.
Ooh, that's good, babe.
It does take.
It's not even in my notes.
It takes humility to look for people who will wound you.
Yeah.
But that is a safeguard to our souls.
Well, ultimately, Jesus said tough things to the disciples.
He was the best friend.
And he was the best friend. Yeah. That's good. But that only goes so far. There's going to be someone out there who's a chameleon
Yep.
who can go, oh, occasionally saying helpful, hard things is something that this person trusts. That's how I can garner trust. And they'll do that. There's no sure way,
No.
but it's still a good principle. It'll help some.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyway, yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
There's no way. There's no way to know until it happens. But it's going to be okay.
But I think there's such comfort in that to recognize we don't have to be hypervigilant. We're not the ones who are supposed to find those things out before they happen. Well, if
Yeah.
you can, great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do your due diligence and everything. But that's not the goal. The goal is be faithful to Jesus.
Yeah.
Do our best.
Yeah.
And when these things happen that do blindside you, because you will be blindsided, then know that Jesus is the one who knows who every abuser is in every room. And he's the one that we trust to know those things and to take vengeance, ultimately. That's not ours to take.
Yeah, vengeance is mine. I will repay, says the Lord. Which is great, because can you imagine having that responsibility? It'd be exhausting. Absolutely exhausting.
Yep.
So.
I can't keep a grudge because it's too exhausting.
Or can you imagine cheap grace where no one gets what they do,
Yeah.
No one who willingly hurts other people without any remorse whatsoever never get any response at all. They just get to keep going. Like, that's not great. I think that's what some people think is good, but...
Yeah.
Sorry, got a little itch right here. So, anyway. Well, that's what I've got on Judas. What do you have? You got anything else?
No.
All right. Man, we ran through that.
We did. Short and sweet for y'all.
Sprinting through betrayal.
Well, it's not a place I want to sit in for a really long time, to be
There we
honest.
go. There we go. We're going to be betrayed. One other thing that's kind of, I don't know how important this is. 2 Thessalonians, or one of the Thessalonians, talks about another son of perdition.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. Don't know what to make of that yet. I have to study that one
It
out.
sounds eschatological. I'm sure many people have many opinions. Brace yourselves. There's another Judas running around out there. At some point in history, he's going to show himself.
Yeah.
I don't know. But tonight is not about eschatology. It is about betrayal. On the night that he was betrayed, Jesus gave himself. He broke the bread, saying, "This is my body." He poured the wine, saying, "This is my blood. Take in remembrance of me." He was setting up while he was being betrayed, while he was going to being handed over to be killed, while he was being paid for his blood money of 30 pieces of silver. He was setting up something for us to have confidence in what he accomplished in his death and his sacrifice on the cross. So, and then of course his resurrection undid all the betrayal. It all ended up for naught anyway. So take hope in Jesus. He is worth taking hope in. And that's it. Short episode. We love you guys. I didn't even finish my hot chocolate. Maybe we'll work on some dishes. I don't know. No promises. Love you guys.
See you.
Have a good night.